As soon as I heard that, I knew. It validated everything I ever thought. And I thought, I've spent 9 years of my life trying to protect human health, and here we are, violating law after law after law. Just sitting here, instead of protecting the people, we are poisoning the people. And you ask yourself, if this is true and we are spraying the people, where are the pilots? Where are the people? I don't know if you pay attention, but look at Snowden. Look at Manning. People don't come forward because these supposed Whistleblower Act protections that you have are not enforced, they're not supported, and they really don't exist. Geoengineering is occurring, it's been occurring, it is not new, and your tax dollars are funding this. So it is unethical every day for all the other people that are out there that work in preventive health, or even physicians that aren't speaking about this. They need to. The biggest hurdle that we have is disinformation sites. I never say them, but I'm going to today, so that you know if anyone ever gives these to you as a reference to debunk you, it's Metabunk and Contrail Science. Those are two websites that are ran by a government shill named Mick West. He is a computer gaming programmer who tries to tell you about persistent contrails. So somebody who isn't even credentialed in chemistry or physics or ecology, none of that, is trying to tell you that you're crazy. You have to understand that I have met people who used to be purposeful disinformation trolls, as we call them. These people are paid to get you on board to believe a website or an article. So I just want everyone to know and understand that of all things, of all the freedoms that we are losing, geoengineering is the #1 issue that we are facing. Because you can have guns and money and you can have everything. If you don't have food and water and you are dying of respiratory or neurological illnesses, what does it matter? So you've heard about vaccines and you'll hear, about smart meters and you'll hear about other issues. These are all systemic effects. We are getting overexposed to toxins. People will tell you fluoride's in the water, but it's not a lot. It is a lot because you're getting it everywhere in your food, water that you drink, and you're getting it in your vaccines. Our bodies cannot metabolize these toxins.
I'm going to tape this time. And so this is what we did before. This is what this is. This is the wine spit test where you rinse your mouth out and then you take grape juice and you hold it in your mouth and you spit it out into a petri dish. Well, what we did is we used the zeolite, the zeoforce. This stuff says it cages this stuff, this stuff that's in these chemtrails, that's in our bodies. Okay, so then now Chris is just going to pour in a little bit of that little tiny bit of the 91% alcohol. Watch, the stuff is alive. Watch what happens. Pour some in, just a little. Watch. Look. Look what it does.
Now you can film it up close.
Oh, yeah.
That's totally freaking...
Is that freaking freaky? This is in every single one of us. This is spookier and weirder than I even want to go there. Look at it. It's starting to get the other stuff. It was climbing out of the petri dish. It was like trying to climb out.
Can't think of anything So sleep, silent angel, go to sleep.
Aircraft making a condensation trail is very similar in many ways to when you go outside on a cold day and exhale, you create a condensation trail. That little cloud is a condensation trail. Now, if you take a 2-mile walk on a cold day and you can turn around and you can see your condensation trail tracking all the way back for 2 miles. That's how crazy it is to think that what we're looking in the sky is actually condensation trails.
The contrails, not the chemical, the contrails occur because of cold air, minus 30. It takes high altitude, around 30,000 feet plus. There's carbon dioxide and water vapor in that exhaust. That turns to ice crystals, and that's what you see, the white stream behind it. Those white crystals of ice warm up, dissolve, and the smoke goes away. And it never lasts more than a minute. What we're seeing now, and I first could not believe it, and I started looking at the skies, and these are not normal. They're not natural. There's something going on. I don't know who it is or why they're doing it. All I can testify is it's not natural and it's not normal. It's got to be some outside influence doing that. Thank you.
I'm here to give you testimony that chemtrails, they're not contrails, are indeed real. They're spraying almost every day. I watch the clouds and watch the spraying program going on. I want to tell you that we're in very great danger from the pollution that's coming down over us. And we've been led astray by the military-industrial complex, and they're responsible for the cloud's creation and weather manipulation programs. They're dark operations. That's why they're not out in the media.
I look around and I see people are starting to look up and see this. Many times I've spoken about chemtrails, and I get this blank look on my face. What are you talking about? I'm saying, look up. As a pilot, before I fly, I look up. And so, boy, they're really out there working.
When you look up at the sun and you see a white haze, that is aluminum floating in the air right now, and it's coming from the aircraft.
There's a huge amount of aluminum being found because these sprays have aluminum, strontium, barium, manganese. And there's a lot of argument that aluminum is very common to be found. But aluminum is only common in a bonded form. It's not common in a free form, and we're finding high rates of free aluminum in the soil, which is not natural.
The metal compounds that are being used are environmentally dangerous. We need to be monitoring them. We need to be testing them.
Okay, these previous guys, I've watched exactly what they do, and yes, they are correct. I've seen exactly the same stuff, so ditto marks on those. You want some figures? Okay, latest water test, tested the rain. 13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be 0. So 13,100 is pretty damn much, folks. It used to be 0, then it was 100s in the 2000s, and then since 2010, it's into the 1,000s and the latest 13,100. In the snow on Mount Shasta, pristine Mount Shasta, 61,000 micrograms per liter, 4 times the amount that is found in the soil up there. Where in the hell is this stuff coming from if it's not coming from the soil?
We have clouds in the sky we've never seen before. Almost every day I'm seeing clouds I've never seen before. And NASA has been even named a few of these new clouds. It's really interesting, but NASA is a corporation. I want you to know that.
NASA has also conducted a research program in what they call metallized fuels. We're actually putting aluminum oxide right in the fuel because it has 2 atoms of aluminum and 3 atoms of oxygen. So during the combustion process, it releases all that oxygen and dramatically increases efficiency, but it leaves the aluminum in the air.
We got things coming from sky down, and it's a huge, huge problem. Because as it comes down, what happens is a couple of things. Is that it actually is in our air, we breathe it. And as we breathe it, it's actually going to go up through our nostrils, into our brain, easiest access to our brain frontal lobe. The contaminants that have been identified, which already been mentioned, are aluminum. Aluminum is the #1 free radical generator to the brain to cause early apoptosis, which is early death of brain, and it begins to set off the scar tissue, which we call the amygdalin, which is part of the chemical matrix related to Alzheimer's.
I'm a neurologist practicing in Reading for 17 years. And in the past 5 years, I have seen the number of patients with Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, and other neurodegenerative diseases tremendously increase, almost quadruple.
I became interested in chemtrails about 8 years ago when I was in Hawaii, and the Hawaiians are really being very vocal about it. I concur about the increasing number of Alzheimer's. They have been able to take the aluminum and micronize it, which means it'll stay up longer. But it also means, and I don't know if any of you have noticed some metallic taste in your mouth when they're spraying, but you inhale that, it goes up through your cribriform plate and through your sinuses and into the brain.
As you heard, to spray nanoparticles, very small particles. These nanoparticles, they basically trigger a programmed cell death in the brain, and that is the ultimate path we see in Alzheimer's.
That's problem number one, because when we look at the Alzheimer issue, we say those are the old. The real problem is, and the real scare I have, is as I am a father of 2, I'm a grandfather of 3, so the drama is our children. ADD started in the 70s. Autism was not on the radar. There was no documents, there was no information. It was 1 in 100,000 children. Today, what we have is 1 in 48 boys. I was part of the early group that was looking for aluminum in ADD and ADHD. And all of those children that started to develop those phenomena had high levels of aluminum. When we figured out protocols to detox them out, to free the body of those particular contaminants, what happened is that their brains came back. When we do this to the age, it doesn't come back as quick, but it will come back. But I'm seeing Alzheimer's in 56 years old. Back in the 70s, Alzheimer's when you were 80.
If you remember 8 to 10 years ago, there was this big move to get rid of aluminum from underarm deodorant because it would cause Alzheimer's. Look what they're doing to us now.
I want to give you a little bit of history on the background behind nanoparticles has been described before. A nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. It's very small. In fact, if you have particles, say, that are 40 or 50 nanometers across, you can take and line 50 of them up next to a single red blood cell. These things are extremely tiny. They're pervasive.
The collapse and decrease of agriculture is something I worry about even more than the previous info about autism and Alzheimer's.
Believe me, I'm seriously concerned with what I'm watching. As a wildlife biologist, I've been watching the ecosystem collapse. When you lose all your stream organisms, when you have aluminum overload in your streams, you're killing your microbial bacteria and you're disrupting the entire ecosystem. So it goes way beyond just a little bit of pollution. How did Monsanto know to create aluminum-resistant plants? I don't think I've heard anybody ask that question. Okay.
Insects. I've done studies in Siskiyou County. They're at 20% of normal. The aquatic insects basically made a nosedive in 2006 to about 20% of normal. So far this year, I've sampled 200 trout stomachs. 98% of them are empty. So sorry about the trout fishing, fellows. The mayflies, stoneflies, dipterus, and caddisflies are damn near gone. The terrestrial sampling is down to about 20% of normal, except for pest species like ants. We're seeing a loss of the major bird species, and as the gentleman said, the ecosystem is unraveling, and Audubon's been telling you that for years.
The materials that are going into the environment right now, aluminum oxide nanoparticles and barium nanoparticles, these just happen to be the same materials that they use in nanothermate explosives. And so when this stuff settles down out of the air into the environment, it is small enough to be absorbed through the root structure of the trees in the forest. And so when there's a forest fire, and there will be a forest fire, those fires burn dramatically hotter. The point is that the cost of firefighting, the cost in the healthcare system have nearly doubled in the last 10 years. The amount of acreage is lost because of fires. The impact on human health is dramatic.
I personally tested water and aluminum, and I found aluminum had 47 times the normal expected amounts. Strontium had 10 to 20 times the amounts. Barium was 20 times. This is what the stuff looks like here. Collected, it looks, most people just think it's a cobweb, but I tested it. It has outrageous amounts of barium, strontium, and aluminum, but they destroy the sample, so I'm not letting this get away from me.
You know, these tests are international in scope. We're seeing this all over the world, guys. Okay, pH of acid soils is 20 times more alkaline. The aluminum in the soil has doubled in the last 10 years. The rain normal was 5.6. It's 20 times more alkaline. Aluminum blocks essential nutrients. I am unable in my garden to restore normal pH, and that's because nanoparticles are now in the circulatory systems of both plants and humans.
The Air Force conducted a study starting in 1993. It was called In Vitro Toxicity of Aluminum Nanoparticles in Rat Alveolar Macrophages. That's a real fancy way of saying testing the effect of aluminum nanoparticles on the white blood cells in the little air sacs in your lung, the alveoli. And what they found in this 8-year study was that these particles, when you're exposed to them long enough, it suppresses the ability of your white blood cells to defend you from airborne infections coming into your lungs. So it suppresses your immune system. But they also found that these same particles, once they get into your system, they can actually go through the barrier in each one of the cells. They get inside the cells, and these particles can actually suppress the ability of mitochondria, which are in the cells that help to gobble up toxins and things that would be harmful to the nucleus and the reproduction process of the cells in your body. These processes are suppressed, and so essentially by breathing this material in, your immune system is dramatically suppressed.
I wrote to the federal government because Air Force wrote a book, and on the first page of the book they said, we're going to control the weather by the year 2025. I asked them, what are they doing spraying these chemicals on the public? I said, there's violation of United States Code 50 USC 1520, which prohibits the American government from experimenting on the U.S. citizens with chemical agents. I said that law also requires who's ever experimenting, when the federal government does it, that they have to report to Congress within 30 days. They wrote back, they said they don't know what I'm talking about. We have enough evidence that there's a spraying going all over the place.
We were warned about the takeover of our freedoms by the military-industrial complex by both Eisenhower and Kennedy. They're gaining traction on us, folks. We are in trouble more than just a spraying program.
All I can say is it's about time we get up in arms about this, because it is affecting our health. It's high time that we as citizens of this great country take action.
Board of Supervisors in Suffolk County, New York, they outlawed geochemical engineering. Hawaii passed an ordinance prohibiting geochemical engineering. I urge you to bar geoengineering in Shasta County and pass an ordinance. At least ask some damn questions. What the hell is all this aluminum doing here? Why are the trees dying, fishes dying? Why is there Alzheimer and aluminum spiking? And why are these fibers on the ground here in Shasta County? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marmon. Today, the Shasta County Board of Supervisors has been the beneficiary of some sincere, passionate, and knowledgeable comments. And I thank you for those. I am in agreement with my colleagues about sending letters and a call for action, but I would hope that we could go a step further. I would like for us to send a copy of this video where all of you spoke today, all 2.5 or 3 hours of this testimony, to be sent to our senators and our U.S. representatives, and also our representatives in the state of California.
We'll do that.
Let them listen to the passion that came out of this meeting today. Thank you.
You have the motion in front of you. I think it's understood. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion passes unanimously. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the response is...
Excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalists, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is that by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In contrast, in marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
So you're suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether I put a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that will have major effects in the Middle East.
How would you suggest that this is going to be dispersed? Aerosol?
Well, so the present plan and the tests that we've done so far have used respiratory viruses, such as flu or rhinoviruses, and we believe that that's a satisfactory way to get the exposure of the largest part of the population. Most of us, of course, have been exposed to both of those viruses, and we're quite confident that this will be a very successful approach.
This is fascinating. What's the name of this proposal?
Yeah, so the name of this project is FunVax, which is the vaccine for religious fundamentalism.
And you have a proposal already?
The proposal has just been submitted, and I think that the data that I have shown you today would support the development of this project, and we think it has great promise.
Now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, to but of course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I beat up more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall. I did it my way.
Upon finalizing our search for chemtrail truth, one website blew our mind. Geoengineeringwatch.org proved to us that there is more to this story. It just seems unnatural to look up at the skies and see this.
We've had some incredibly unique footage sent to us. This footage should be an excellent tool for those that are trying to wake others up to the climate engineering programs. This is a tanker. It appears to be an Airbus A340-200. Look in the center, between the wing plumes, you'll see a secondary disbursement coming out of this aircraft. This is what is so unique to this film. Even on the wings, we have a secondary disbursement, very visible here, between the plumes of the aircraft.
If these emissions are simply contrails from the engines, why do they cease ejection and then resume expulsion as if somehow jet engines can turn off instantly in mid-flight? This website provides rigorous amounts of biased information based upon evidence that geoengineering and chemtrails are indeed taking place to this day, all hidden under public eye.
In 1994, the World Population Summit in Cairo, Egypt, had 160 nations participate, where they all agreed that the human population was out of control and must be stopped because the world is running out of resources. An agreement was formed that would mandate the reduction of humans from 6 billion to 800 million by the year 2030. This meant finding a method or methods to wipe out nearly 95% of the population. Solutions were discovered, investigated, tested, then created, and have been in full force since. The procedures have been inflicted onto the human race are as follows. 1. Toxic levels of chemically enhanced fluoride have been secretly added to our drinking water over the last 20 years in every city and community on the planet. I personally oversaw the delivery of fluoride barrels to Denver, Chicago, Tampa, and Minneapolis water departments. The adverse effects of fluoride poisoning to the human body are numerous and debilitating. The effects to children is damage to their neurological development, among other serious ailments. 2. Man-made viruses and diseases. The AIDS virus, which was a design and byproduct of the American Disease Institute, was distributed through vaccines to the public in 1980. Instituted as a preliminary population control tactic, the results were successful and led to more lab-produced viruses that have since been unleashed onto the public. Among those is the development of a mutated version of the common flu to replicate the 1918 influenza pandemic that killed 40 million people. The first strain of this new flu virus will be released to the public in late 2017. So if we see a flu outbreak in the late 2017 or early 2018 that's killing people, we'll know this is true. All right. 3. Killing us from the air with neurotoxins, barium chloride, cancer microbes, and viruses by way of chemtrails. Released into the skies daily over all inhabited regions by military aircrafts. The effects of these toxins are severe and over time lethal, causing respiratory ailments, cancer, damage to the immune systems, and sterilization in men. Since the chemtrail plan was implemented, sperm count in men has dropped nearly 50%. If this isn't reversed soon, the human race will face early extinction. Now the grand finale. This is some scary shit. In March 1997, an event known as the Phoenix Lights became the most infamous UFO sighting in history. a mile-wide vessel, clearly not man-made, flew slowly and silently over the state of Arizona and was witnessed by 10,000 people, including the governor of Arizona. To date, there has been no reasonable explanation. But for every witness interviewed, the craft was as real as anything they'd ever seen. Their lives were transformed. They now believe that we truly are not alone. However, there is another truth, for I know what they really saw. In 1986, while stationed at an underground installation near Boulder, Colorado, I was introduced to Project Skybeam by Lieutenant General Andrew Garris. I was then led down a corridor and into a large hangar where a stealth bomber hovered only 20 feet above me. I stood there confused, and Garris looked over at me and smiled, then asked if I was certain of what I was seeing. I replied, of course. What else could it be? I was then shocked to find out that this wasn't a real craft. It was a projected hologram. Since the early 1950s, scientists have been developing holographic technology, and over the years improved it to a state that we can only imagine. As I stood there staring at the bomber, which looked so absolutely real and solid that I could reach up and touch it, I contemplated the possibilities. What if this projection was 1,000 feet up in the sky? How would anyone know that that was an illusion? The Phoenix Lights craft, witnessed by 10,000 people, was the first grand-scale skybeam test upon the public. It succeeded beyond expectations. In October 1938, Orson Welles unleashed his War of the Worlds radio broadcast to the American public. It was so realistically portrayed, vast portions of the population went into panic. Terrified citizens scrambled to evacuate their cities in droves. America had been easily tricked by very simple means. To amplify this response, those who are truly in power of not only our country, but all the countries on the planet, and who are the true purveyors of the depopulation process, have formulated the final stage of their sinister plan. In the year 2024, a global event will alter the course of mankind's future. The world will stand witness to a massive alien invasion. Thousands of projected holographic alien warships will blanket the skies, sending people into a global panic. Real military crafts within the holograms will inflict actual damage to the surrounding areas the cell beginning. And as a result of the ensuing human chaos, a one-world government will immediately form without any resistance from the people. They will be the new world order. Once this happens, we as a people will be doomed to enslavement and accelerated depopulation. With that said, the only hope for human salvation is to acquire and spread the knowledge of these activities and agendas. Resist, retaliate, then conquer this opposing enemy. The time is now, as humanity is rapidly approaching.
Hi there, I'm Teresa, and I am in System Busters Paradise Today, which is pretty much every day on the planet. Now, I'm not a pot smoker, not an addict. I really don't use much of anything to affect my state of mind. But this morning, my guidance told me of a benefit of pot that probably hasn't been heard of yet, which is protecting you from what are called fembots or nanobots. I've heard about pot having anti-cancer properties, but I hadn't heard of something like this, which does give me something to think about. People who have escaped from the secret space program talk about what they call fembots or nanobots, which they say travel into the quarks of the atoms in your DNA and mutate or change or damage or destroy your DNA. If you're not familiar, the secret space program kidnaps people and sadistically tortures them to, quote, train them for secret military missions. This being run by the New World Order's dark agenda. And just a word of caution about secret space program survivors. They can bring back some very valid information, but many of them are still in contract with darkness, and not yet choosing to be fully in contract with the light. So while I consider their information, I do refuse any dark contracts that may be coming through them. I was clairvoyantly shown how the energy of a fembot works. It comes in and it basically plows through your DNA. Like I said, it can destroy your DNA or it can mutate it or change it. This being done to try to control you for the purpose of the New World Order and its dark agenda. Nanobots can cause a myriad of diseases such as mad cow disease, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, autoimmune diseases, flu symptoms, and nanobots can be used to track you. Have you heard of smart dust? They want to track you so they know what you're thinking and feeling, so they can manipulate you and control you and program you. So you are a robot for the New World Order. Nowadays, fembots are primarily delivered through chemtrails. I live in a remote area and I've started seeing chemtrail spraying. I've seen this phenomenon. In fact, the past month we've had a completely hazy sky with very little sun, which I do believe is being done intentionally for the purpose of driving the farmers off their land by decreasing their yields and making it hard for them to farm. This is an accidentally released NASA document which corroborates that nanobots are delivered through chemtrails. Here they are talking about bots and Borgs, Borgs being cyborgs, which people from the secret space program have talked about. Here they are talking about smart dust, micro dust weaponry, micron-sized mechanized dust, mechanized meaning computerized, programmed, which is distributed as an aerosol and inhaled into the lungs, chemtrails. Dust mechanically bores into lung tissue and executes various pathological missions. A wholly new class of weaponry, which is legal. So it's legal for you to kill us? Great! Fantastic! NASA's involved in helping to kill you. Harold Kautz Vela describes nanobots as synthetic RNA. In this video, he effectively covers a lot of information about smart dust, synthetic RNA, chemtrails, and he includes some discussion of the metaphysical background of the demonic, black magic, parasitical, Luciferan nature of the New World Order and its agendas.
You need to think about cluster topologies. If you want to have these RNA or DNA clusters carry intelligence, carry soul, carry an artificial life form, then it makes sense. And if you picture this, we are infected with this RNA, and the RNA is forming a cluster of 1 millimeter distances around us. And a cluster like this is able to carry a computer program or an artificial, non-physical structure or being. This structure can hoover through the field, but it also can hoover into us. And this structure knows how to access the light production, and it knows how to access the production of poisons. And it also carries intelligence in itself and has the ability to make decisions.
A definition of nanobots on Techopedia says that nanobots are currently in the research and development phase, but people in the secret space program say that is not true. This definition of nanobots confirms that they can be used to affect your DNA. They are expected to do specific tasks at the atomic, molecular, and cellular level. Nanobots can be considered to be a machine version of a bacteria or virus. They can be biological or synthetic, but are adapted to perform pre-programmed tasks at the atomic level. They can affect your DNA. While nanobots may be used to treat cancer, secret space program whistleblower James Ring points out that they may be used to cause cancer as well, which likely has been done. I think James is a great system buster, but he still is not differentiating between who is in contract with the light and who is in contract with the dark, and he gives them equal billing when he interviews them and posts videos about them. So if you watch his information, you really have to discern who he is promoting on his platform, as the person may actually be a recruiter for the dark agenda and may put you in contract with the dark side, such as in the case of Misha Johnston. Recently, Madonna released a video called God Control. Quite a dark theme here. This video pushes gun control and also has a refrain about not smoking pot. The only gun is in my brain. That's why I don't smoke that dope. That dope I don't smoke, it's true.
I'm insane, the only gun is in my brain. Each new birth, it gives me hope. That's why I don't smoke that dope. Insane people.
But Madonna has heavy Illuminati connections. Everything she says has to be evaluated as an Illuminati message. The Luciferan Illuminati cult worships Lucifer. It seems like she might as well have called her video Lucifer Control. That's her god. By the way, there is a correlation between gun control and dictatorships and murder of the citizens of a country. I believe the New World Order is fomenting the current gun climate and crimes in order to disarm the American population with the agenda of controlling us. So what do? I think the most important thing you should do first is protect your spiritual contracts, because the dark agenda of the New World Order always seeks to get your consent to get a spiritual contract with you to harm you. They want you to agree to their contract. Many times you can be giving consent without realizing it, such as by watching a fictional movie and being silent or not objecting to the theme. You have to refuse consent. I've posted more information here about how you can protect your contracts. Another thing you can do is meditation and prayer to your higher power. Always go to the highest power in the universe to remove and replace any nanobots within you, and that you be immune to any form of the dark agenda. I have free guided meditations you can use to place that intention. And always take care of your body and your health. I've posted some general health tips here that I've used. Several of these are very good for cleansing. Iodine helps your body heal more quickly. And if you're concerned about radioactivity, it helps clear that out of your body. Fermented juices are very good at helping clear toxins out of your body. I've started fermenting my own juices. And I even fed some to my cat, and she doesn't drink as much water either. Other things you can use are bentonite and diatomaceous earth and many other things you can do to cleanse your body. And another option being medical cannabis. My guidance saying that actually consuming cannabis leaf helps block and remove any nanobots and helps make you immune, protecting you. They said that eating some live pot leaf actually works best. CBD oil doesn't work because the element that helps you is in the psychoactive agent. Here's what they suggested for dosages for up to 150-pound person. Of the live pot leaf, not very much, just about a 3-inch leaf daily is sufficient. Dried pot leaf is only about 75% as effective as live pot leaf, and smoked pot leaf is about half as effective. I researched cannabis seeds, and I came across this company that focuses on organic and heirloom varieties. Of the strains available by this company, my guidance indicated that these 2 strains are the best for protecting you against nanobots. If you have more information about any other seeds with high integrity, feel free to post it in the comments so everyone can have that information. So in conclusion, I would say that the most important thing in protecting me against the dark side's agenda, whatever it might be, is to protect my spiritual contracts and then consistently refuse consent to the dark side. What this process does is helps make you sovereign, because when you are sovereign, you're in charge of your life. When you live in the energy of total self-responsibility, it's from that position that you can be in charge of what happens in your life, in your energy field. So with that being said, may you have a wonderful day in paradise.
This man, Terrell, whom we'll be interviewing in a moment, is a very good man. You can find links to his work, his YouTube channel, and the newsletters that we're going to be speaking about in this chat in the description box. I certainly haven't looked into all of his work yet, but the topics we are discussing today I believe is quite valid, as is his work predicting earthquakes and the earth changes he is anticipating as well. So, I hope you enjoy and that this serves you and your families well.
So let me just pull up my questions. So by the way, wow, on your email, I can't even believe what all you've been through. I mean, I can, but that was incredible in regards to your, your team that you had and everything. I'm very sorry for what you went through. But I would assume that part of that you don't want to be shared or discussed in public, no? Or
I'm not sharing my screen right now, right? Because I don't see
No, you're not.
Okay,
No.
I was just making sure. That's a topic that we can go through if you want to. I let people do that. We can go in anything you want, but I'm just warning you that AI is going to be paying careful attention to identify threats, anything futuristic from what we're saying that could raise your threat level and my threat level and things like that. So with the sodium, what we're talking about is a nanofilament replication inhibitor. And what got me in trouble was working with the Institute. It wasn't because of Project Black Star that got me in trouble.
What was the main goal of the Con Institute?
Those are the people that specialize in Magellan's research.
Oh.
Things like that, which is uncontrolled replication of the silicone strands inside of people's body. So it's like for a silicone-based life form is what it is.
I'm familiar.
Right, and so members of the team, just saying his name raises your threat level.
I won't say his name.
No, well, I already have, but he was a key member. I learned most of what I know from him. He's the chief over the building of more than 200 facilities around the world. He understands the technology. He understands all that stuff. And he set me down and explained it to me how everything works so I could see the larger picture. And it's very frightening of what the reality really is.
So he saw what it was doing when he was building it, and he decided to stop and go talk about it and try to be a part of the solution?
Well, in 2013, now it's a digitized, when they changed from the analog system to digital, then they built a lot more facilities. Without him, he was upgraded. So he was phased out. New people are in there now, but he still knows what he told us about the transition as it was happening, and his body is riddled with, and members of his family have been taken through, and people that he worked with, and so
horrible. So I wanted to, so just for the people who haven't had know what your email said to me, you mentioned this program since 2013 maintains the carrier wave around our planet that AI uses to create frequencies for maintaining communications with the thoughts inside our bodies, creating input feeds for hosts populating sims or real world simulations. Now, the technology that I've heard of has been around a long time, and back then they said it was for space only, but was it always designed to control these thoughts in our bodies that we're talking about?
The program has a lot of different uses. This is one of them.
Okay.
Right here. The goal is to create it's like a matrix, a real world simulation populated with real world hosts. A little you and a little me is in there, just like in the Matrix with Neo and Morpheus. They're having a conversation just like we are. And the goal is to take the feed from us, from our respiration, our heartbeat, everything, and feed it directly to the real world host to make it as real as possible. Over 70% of the population can be integrated into the real world simulation. The oddities of the human anatomy make it so that a percentage of the population cannot be integrated. But they're breaking the nanometer barrier more and more, down from 10 nanometers down to 5 nanometers, and they are helping AI to get a better hold on what he's supposed to do, which is reattach amino acids to bugs like the H1N1 bug. The only thing that made that not a super strain and a super killer was the removal of 2 amino acids that they want AI to put back in, to put the teeth back into the guy. everybody has the H1N1 in them right now. That's the first half of the binary. All they need to do is put the 2 amino acids back, and then you have, in different populations, you're going to get different super strains that are going to evolve out of that until you get the super deadly killer. So they can use AI with using voice commands to eliminate an individual, a family, or a race of people by AI and HARP, the nanos, this carrier wave, subfrequencing on top. So it's like broadband for the communication of AI and the nanos inside your body for gathering all the information, back and forth communication, for giving information to the real world host. So the idea is to build and populate the real world simulations. The feed is coming from us to them, but then the plan is to reverse the feed.
Right.
So they reverse the feed, then they get the real world host working ahead of us, and then they reverse the feeds, and then I'm being controlled by the host inside the simulation. That's what they're doing. But it's not just for people. It's not just for animals. It's for everything.
Wow. So your jargon and ability to comprehend all this is so beyond mine. I'm going to ask you to back up just a little bit. So just to kind of like step by step. So what happened first was they were, with engineering, they're spraying these bits of aluminum and other size particulates into the atmosphere that we bring into our lungs. And as you said, then it's like a numbers game. Some of it that goes into our lungs winds up coming up through the mucus and being swallowed, where it goes into the stomach in an acid-rich environment, where apparently is what you said was where it transforms. Can you explain a little bit about how those, whatever it is in nanotechnology, grows into something else with the acid?
Okay. So there's a disconnect in people's understanding of, they think that they're spraying bots on you. They're not doing that. That would never work in the first place. What they do is they spray these components, and then we breathe them in. Animals breathe them in. They're spraying them on the plant life that takes them in.
That we eat.
That's right. And then what goes into our lungs, our body wants to expel. This is microscopic, very small stuff.
Sure.
So it comes back up in the phlegm, in the mucus, and then we swallow it. We swallow it, it goes down into the acid-rich environment, and that's where the crystallization begins. So these little component elemental parts that go down in there, then they begin to replicate. And these are crystals that are replicating, and they grow to a predetermined diameter, which is very small. They're going to be 10 nanometers, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 nanometers, very, 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 very small. Then on the corners of these crystal formations, once they grow to that specific size that they were commanded to grow to, then on each corner is where the filaments grow. And what you're going to be looking at it resembles very much a tick. So it has arms and it has antennae. Whenever they first start growing, they look the same, but then they become more noticeable as appendages for mobility and antennae for communication. This is what's made out of the same silicone-based stuff, if you will, that causes Allen's disease in people.
Right. So just real quick. So I never want to interrupt you, but I'm just trying to get this step by step. So just to kind of explain to people, when you talk about this crystallizing and turning into something, so it kind of reminds me of those, chemistry experiments when we're kids, where we put something in another chemical and then this crystal grows right before our eyes. So it's sort of like that, right?
That's right.
This nano has this predetermined size that it's going to grow to once it hits that acid, which is it's created to hit that acid and to do this, right?
That's right. So you get none of the development in the lungs. The development only happens in the digestive tract. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And then you're saying the appendages come out of the corners that give it motility to walk around, to move, and then a communication type of antenna, which is what interacts with the heart frequencies.
That's right.
Wow. Okay. And so there are all different kinds for different purposes of this nanotech?
That's right. They can also work together. They can combine together to create other things.
Okay.
So they're very extremely, extremely small. Put all the component parts together, they can build whatever they want inside of you. That causes this reaction in a small percentage of the population. The people that get Magellan's disease, it's not supposed to happen. It's uncontrolled replication. It's cancer of the silicon base. So if you're a silicon-based life form instead of a carbon-based life form, then you would have replication as a means of reproduction. Just like our cells divide and they reproduce. That's how our bodies are maintained. Well, uncontrolled cellular division is what cancer is. Same thing with the silicon-based life form. It's just out of control, not being governed by the genetic code, if you will.
When Terrell first said this about this Morgellons being a replication accident, I at first was doubtful. But if you think about it, the powers that be would not want us to see proof of this program inside our bodies. And that's exactly what Morgellons does. It's silicon replication in ungoverned overdrive, like some nano-sized alien cancer, spitting its tangled silicon filaments and crystals through people's skin. It's certainly taken this whole concept of our being inhabited from total fiction into an event with physical evidence left behind. Not that everyone claiming this issue is legit, but many are and have proof. These poor people suffering from this replication overgrowth are haunted with itchy skin where lesions form as the silicon life forms come through their epidermis. Of course, looking like they are on drugs with some of these lesions all over them, many are desperate to know what's happening, but doctors just label them as delusional parasitosis and send them home with antibiotics. Many take matters into their own hands by microscopes to study the filaments themselves. Here is one example.
All right, let's see. These guys were moving a minute ago. Let me move them in here into the picture. You can see if they're still moving or not. Yeah, you can sort of see them moving there. See them? See the little self moving around there? See if I can get a little bit closer. There we go. Oh yeah. Wow, this is awesome. I finally got one on film moving. Once he gets, oh, look at, ooh, there he really is moving now. Nice. Wow. I have felt these things like move up and down my skin, literally felt them move up and down my skin. And now you can actually see it moving.
So, but some people, it's a genetic thing, they have a propensity for it, but others, like your partner who is exposing this, it happened to him seemingly as an attack on him, no?
That's what it looks like. See, here's the thing. The way that they're going to kill people is by giving them flu-like symptoms. That's going to cause fluid in their lungs, pneumonia.
And this is what happened to many members of your family.
That's right.
When you started disclosing this and digging into this research, and other key members of your family. What I was thinking of, this amazing man lost members of his family all in the same week once the work exposing this came out. And so obviously they have some kind of means to turn on some kind of virus inside of us that, like you were saying, it causes flu-like symptoms, it fills the lungs with fluid. But what I wanted to know is that, you're telling me how we can disable this now in our bodies by using some things we'll talk about here later on in the interview. But were you guys already doing that to prevent this kind of thing from happening, or you learned that as a result of this?
Our group knew about the inhibitor, and we were trying to get the information out like we are, just you with educating people, but instead working, my job was to put into the hands of the Carnicom Institute and surround him with about a dozen physicists, because we already knew what the answer was. He'd already described everything to me, what he needed, but we needed to go through the proper channels and to produce the research and to work with the Institute, and then they would publish everything, and then that would start helping people. That was the idea. But AI put up the red flag, and then my people began going down in two groups in March and April of 2012, and my mother went down with the first group.
Horrible.
That went down, and she never had any heart issues. The thing that I was getting to is this thing is characterized as the professionals, the people actually working on my people, as a mystery virus. They don't know what it is, basically. And then it's going to work in the lungs first, and then it's going to cause the body to begin going into convulsions, and then heart palpitations, and then the heart is just going to give out. What they do is they use the that, like I said, they can work together, and they build nodes inside the main arteries of the heart. They build them and then they unbuild them. They build them to kill the person, and then they unbuild them. So a member of my family had to go, and she didn't have any plaque or anything in her system. She had to go to the hospital and get a stent put in her heart because these nodes started growing. They had identified 2 small nodes growing in her heart. This is going through the same time period that I'm talking to you about whenever my mother and 2 of my cousins were. All of from the same symptoms. This mystery deal that was going on. And the members of my group, there were 13 of them that we know about, and the youngest one was 25 years old, and she has a stent in her heart too.
Oh my gosh. Young people who have there's no business or good reason for this to happen other than the attack, direct attack for what you were exposing. Wow.
Each person was found unconscious by the people and taken to the hospital unconscious, and then they went through the fluid in the lungs phase, and then the heart phase after that, until they wound up having to have stents in their heart. And my mom was on the way to the hospital to get her stent whenever she passed.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So why would they, now this was another question I thought of, like why would they attack your family and leave you alone? Same with him. They members of his family also. Why would they not go after you doing the research, do you think?
Actually, I think that they did. I was down for the count 3 times in 2012 myself, but I was taking as much as I could of the inhibitor.
Oh.
So maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe they keep me around to desensitize the people about it. But I responded and I had a 360 member research team put together that we came together on Paltalk. And then, so we had people coming in and going out all the time with 65 administrators, very big, powerful group, physicists, astronomers, and that was just all disbanded. So we were doing up to 7 radio shows per week, myself, we had our geologist, we had Turney doing the geopolitical analysis and things, and all that was thrown away. Now you see I hardly do any interviews. The idea is to stay behind the pace,
yes,
to go nice and slow,
yes,
and become their useful desensitizing agent. So they're going to use my Planet X, which they characterize. I'm not a Planet X guy at all. They label me as a Planet X guy, push me in there, and then use my testimony to desensitize people. As long as I don't race too far ahead, then that's what I'm saying. AI is going to use us, and he doesn't want to kill useful assets. It's in his advantage. He's going to win the game playing it this way, but it allows us the opportunity to get the information out to people that are awake.
Right. I felt the same thing. Why I don't make so many videos. I'm at this slower pace, and it's kind of, I feel like it's spirit that's leading me to do that, but interesting. So I wanted to ask also, when you said that you took the thing that perhaps kept it from affecting you like it did your family, are you talking about the, or there's something else?
Now that's the only known replication inhibitor that knew of, and that's the only one that I know of so far. It's the similarity to those filaments and the cell walls of fungi. Very, very similar. That's the same things. Apple cider vinegar has a 9.3 pH. Raising your pH makes it more difficult for the fungi and the nanos.
Wow. So what we're talking about,
the higher the pH. Yeah, go ahead.
What we're talking about here, folks, is boron, or it's a mineral, boron, and a very common, very easily accessible, cheap form of that is actually something that you might have in your laundry room right now called 20-mule team borax. So you take a pinch of that in water every day. Is that all you do?
In my morning drinking, I got my drinking water glass right here. And in the morning, then I put 1 pinch in. This is a pint. So I put 1 pinch in, and I drink maybe 5 or 6 glasses per day. So in the morning, and then once again around noon, and then in the evening, I just take 1 pinch. Just the smallest little pinch that you can put in, that's all it takes to have that in your system. And I didn't mention to you the maximum doses allowed by the FDA. That's going to be a 1/4 teaspoon for if you're a 200-pound man, and 1/8 of a teaspoon if you're a 100-pounder.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just using a pinch, you're never going to get near that.
Well, it seems like they're not going to be as hard against a group like, maybe I'm wishful thinking here, and I hope I'm right. You and I talking about this in a conversational way, not what you were doing, which is was a big time, very well established scientists, astronomers, people who could write the papers and inform the community at large in a really legitimate way. So perhaps this kind of work where we're just talking about it and sharing it with people, they're just going to let that go under the radar. Whereas with you, that's why they had to stop it, because you had a very valid way that you were coming at this.
Right. They're not afraid of me at all. They are afraid of they've got their letters behind their name. They're accredited. They have the opportunity to have a very loud voice very quickly on something like that. So the idea is to keep everything low key, and then use my lack of education.
Exactly.
Is actually helping me to do this. Right? So,
very high degrees in theater right now.
And if we focus on the health benefits, there's 24 health benefits. You're going to decalcify the pineal gland.
Right.
You're going to be able to think more clearly. You're going to get the 75% of the people in the United States already have the death cycle initiated. So the fungi overgrowth is already happening in just about all of the people that are listening to your presentation.
Candida, by the way. Candida,
Right, that's right.
is what he's talking about. So does this help with the Candida as well?
Absolutely. It's natural. The apple cider vinegar, all you have to do is take one glass, just like this one, 1 pint, and you're going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar to it in the morning. And you're going to use the same glass. You're going to drink a third of that with breakfast, a third with lunch, and a third with dinner, and that's it. That 9.3 pH is going to raise your pH of your blood. It's going to give you about 18 health benefits just doing that. Then and about 6 more added to that by taking the soda, just those 3 pinches. So you're going to raise your blood pH. You're going to begin reducing the amount of fluorine buildup that's in your body. That's affecting your ability to think. Between the Candida, which creates cloudy thinking, the fungi inside your body rewires the neural network. Just like the bacteria, it generates your appetites and things. You eat the same thing over and over, your bacteria in your stomach's not going to like it.
Right.
That's why the governor of your behavior, good behavior, is the bacteria in your system. The fungi, whenever it's activated, rewires the neural network towards bad behavior. If the fungi wants to kill you, the bacteria wants to build you up, and that's the good guy and the bad guy in your left shoulder and your right shoulder, making it difficult to get the good food, the good exercise, because the bacteria wants you to live and the fungi wants you to die. You cannot eliminate the fungi from your body, but it all goes dormant. The fungi is supposed to be there for when your body does die. It's just activated beforehand by the foods that we eat. It's part of to displace you from your job, and then to have you eat these bad foods to feed the overgrowth.
Coming up on Harvard Chan This Week in Health, the rapidly growing use of nanoparticles in our food.
Now I'll show you what I already know.
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
Coming up on Harvard Chan This Week in Health, the rapidly growing use of nanoparticles in our food.
In general, nanoparticle is particles dimensions are less than about 100 nanometers. A whole series of different particles in foods that are either naturally present or that are engineered to put into foods.
How these microscopic particles are used, how they interact with our bodies, and how they could play an important role in feeding people in low and middle income countries.
In this week's episode, we're talking about nanoparticles, tiny microscopic additives that are used in hundreds of foods.
These particles are often used to make foods more visually appealing, and while they're commonly used, researchers say there's still much to learn about how nanoparticles may affect human health, both positively and negatively.
The Harvard Chan School is the home of a research center studying the safety of nanotechnology.
We showed the answers. It's time for you to face the risk. Dark clouds will go away. Name all your fears, cause your mind can hide connections and disturb the harmony from your dramatic fate. Let it out, let it go. Grab the chances you've been waiting for so long. Let it out, take control. Find your way towards the places you belong. There's something in the skies when I see you with tender eyes. It's really strong and it will last for long. something in the skies when I see you with tender eyes. Comes from above, the magic force of love is love. For the beauty of things, love for all the human beings, love for the plain non-stop time, love for the water sublime. There's something in the skies